thank you for joining us. There's some new faces and some old faces and some familiar faces. Alrighty. So I want to honour the time commitment, so we'll just get started. And if people join as we go, that's fine. So I'm Amy, and I am founder and creator of Temple of She, which is my business. And in that business, I offer services to women to explore their sexuality and their spirituality and where those two meet and what boundaries they have around those two. And we go into the fears and the unconscious negative self-beliefs that are around those two parts of us. And it's about combining the spiritual journey, because spirituality is quite common now, and it's sort of more acceptable, and a lot of people are working on their spirituality in a way that suits them. They've found different modalities, they're working in different ways to explore their spirituality, but we get to this big wall where it comes to sexuality. It's like, oh, no, we don't go there, that's a whole other thing. But the reality is, it is completely intertwined and a massive big part of our spirituality, and is where a lot of our growth comes, especially as women. We have so much power in our sexuality, and I'm not just talking about sex and sexual intercourse. I am talking about the energy that comes from our sexuality, that comes from our womb space, that comes from our kundalini. All of that whole energy center is incredibly powerful, and it is a massive part of our spiritual growth. So until we look at that part of ourselves, we're always going to hit boundaries, hit blockages, and have unconscious stuff still buried down there. So that's what I'm passionate about, and that's what I work with women about. So before we go into it, I'm just going to invite everyone to just close down their eyes so we can just all come into the space together and just leave sort of the day behind and the evening behind and whatever we've had to do to get to this point of our day. So just closing your eyes, just taking a deep breath. Just consciously slowing down and deepening your breath, and taking your breath down through your heart chakra down to your womb space, breathing in and out of this space, placing your hands there if you need to. Deep, slow breaths. Just being aware of how that area feels for you right now. Breathing in and out of the womb. And just finding one or two words that describe how this area feels for you right now. You don't have to share them, just let them come to you so that you're aware of how that part of your physical and energetic body feels right now. Then when you're ready, just blinking open your eyes and coming back into this space. So tonight's session, it's just 30 minutes, short and sharp, about what Yoni Massage is, because it's kind of the big kahuna of what I offer women. It's the most powerful, and it's also the most vulnerable thing that I offer women that they can step up for. And when I talk about it, the first question I always get is, what's a yoni? And then the next question is, why would you massage that? So part of what I do is also about starting the conversation, talking about it. Because every time I do, I can see these sparks go off and women are like, oh, wow. And it just gets them thinking. And that alone is a massive thing for them to be able to start thinking and comprehending that part of their body, and that it might actually be used for something other than just sex, or something that's, you know, it gets them to start to look at themselves and feel themselves in a different way. So what we're going to do tonight is just talk a little bit about what a yoni massage is, what happens in a session, why would you do it, who would do it, and I want you to feel free to jump in and ask any questions at all, anytime. Don't hesitate. It's all you need to do is just unmute yourself on the screen and you can jump in and ask a question. There is a chat box down below if you want to type it in, but feel free to use your voice and speak up. So yoni is a word for this whole space of our vagina, our labia, our uterus, our fallopian tubes, that whole entire area of our body. There is no word in English to describe that entire part. We've got a word for each bit, but not as an entirety, as a whole. So that's why I use the word yoni, even though it's not an English word, but there is no actual other word to describe that entire space. And in that space is the powerhouse for the feminine. So that is where, as feminine, as women who identify as women in this life and have that physical anatomy, that is where our most powerful energetic center is. We know scientifically that we don't operate from our cranial brain, we operate from our heart brain, our heart's intelligence. And that is physically connected to the womb space, to the uterus. So there's a nerve that runs from the heart down to the uterus. And that energetically is a pathway directly from the womb to the heart space. And it's like a battery pack, a power pack. It amplifies our heart's intelligence. It amplifies our heart chakra and its ability. And what has happened with our society is that as women, our powerhouse has become our storehouse. So we've suppressed shit and we push it down and push it down and push it down, and it just fills this space where we have this incredible innate power. And instead of harnessing and using that power, it's become just this basement full of fucking shit. And then when it's so clogged and blocked and full of negative self-beliefs and societal thoughts that you've been raised with, how can you be your most powerful self? How can you be this woman that's discerning, she's decisive, she knows what she wants, she knows what she needs? You can't do that when you're all blocked up with all of this fear that you have filled your powerhouse with. So a yoni, that's what a yoni is. And a yoni massage is an ancient sacred practice. It comes from tantric roots, but it is also a practice that I know and believe was practiced by priestesses thousands and thousands of years ago in the temple. And it was their job to bring young men and women into the temples and practice these massages on them to show them how they deserved to be worshipped, to show them how worthy they were to be revered, and to show them how to receive and how to give, what their physical bodies were capable of, what energy was present in their bodies, and how they can use this power that is within them in every other aspect of their life. So yoni massage is a tantric massage that starts with, it's about a 3-hour long session, and the woman comes in and first we have a discussion about why does she want to do this? What has brought her to this work? What are her intentions for the session? And I have women come for yoni massage for any reason you could possibly think of. I have women who have had sexual trauma. They've been sexually abused. I have women who have birth trauma. I have women who have physical symptoms to do with their reproductive organs, so heavy menstrual periods. They've had hysterectomies. Women with endometritis. Women who can't orgasm, women who have never had an orgasm in their entire life, women who have never looked at their vaginas in their life because they're so terrified to, women who have no idea about their anatomy whatsoever. So they come to me purely for exploration, teach me what the hell is what and where is what and how does it feel and how should it be touched. I have women who come because they don't feel safe exploring themselves with a partner or with a lover or with anyone else, and they want to learn about their bodies, because we don't teach this stuff in high school. We don't teach this stuff to our children. It's kind of like sex is this thing that you just don't talk about and you kind of just do and fumble your way through it, and if it feels good, great. If it doesn't, nah, try with someone else. We don't have this environment that nurtures us to explore our sexuality in a positive way and in a free way and in a way without taboos and this really private secret thing. And, you know, masturbation is something that's private. You do it under covers, it's quiet, you know, don't talk about it, don't show it, it's very private. And, you know, I could go on and on and on about the taboos around our actual physical anatomy and our labia and vagina, and how labiaplasty is one of the most common plastic surgeries that's happening in the world today, and all this shit around our physical anatomy. So women come to me because they just want to explore this, and especially if there's trauma there, or if there's just, they know there's some kind of holding back in their experience of pleasure, or if they know that there's something deeper in them when they're on their spiritual path and they've been exploring their spirituality, but they kind of just can't push any further. And perhaps I've had women come who have had a very strict Christian or Catholic upbringing, and sex is such a taboo thing, their body is such a taboo thing, their sexuality as a woman is incredibly taboo, and they don't know how to explore that, or they feel like there's more there but they just don't know how. And this is something that we can explore. So in the session we have these discussions first. What is her intention? What does she want to achieve? And then we talk about a couple concepts that are vital to a yoni massage. And then the main thing that's so important, not just in yoni massage, but incredible for women to use in everyday life, is this concept of full-bodied consent. So in a massage, before I touch a woman, I ask her for her full-bodied consent. And what full-bodied consent is, with every single cell in your body, you give consent to being touched. And this is so important for women, because very, very rarely in our lives do we have the opportunity where we have been asked for full-bodied consent, or where we can actually give our full-bodied consent. So many times we think, oh God, I'll just have sex with him because then he'll roll over and I can sleep. Or, you know, we go to the doctor and we know we should have the pap smear, but I really don't want it because it fucking hurts and it's so uncomfortable and he's whatever, and, you know, we don't want to do it. So we're not giving our complete consent, but we're doing it anyway. Or worse, you know, when you're being taken advantage of, or when you're being abused, or there's rape, or those kind of, they're extreme examples of where your consent is completely taken for granted. So that is an opportunity for women to use their voice and to actually say what their body is feeling. And it's completely okay for a woman to say no, because if it's a no, then that is where we need to work. Why is it a no? Let's look at that and go into that as to why this is a no. And often that is where the most powerful stuff happens, rather than just going, oh yeah, okay, let's do this. And it can be very superficial because she's just not feeling safe to go in deep. So we're better off honoring that no and working with that. And I do that through many, many different methods of energy work, or all kinds of different things, is depending on what that woman needs and what intuitively I feel we need to do to get through that no. And sometimes we never get past that no, and that's what the session is all about. And that is completely fine for that woman. So it's really important for women who come into this space to understand that they are in 100% control. I offer her the session and the content of the session, but what actually happens in the session is completely in her control. And that is another thing that is kind of foreign for us, is using our voice and speaking up for what we want and what we need. Again, many, many women come to me and they have no idea how to ask for what they want in life or in sexual interactions in the bedroom, because sometimes they don't know what they want, or they just don't have the self-confidence or the self-worth or the self-courage to ask for what they want. You know, I've always been kind of curious about whatever it is, but I just don't feel like I can ask him to do it or ask her to do it or whatever it is. And so this is an opportunity. I really encourage women. This is a safe, supportive space for you to use your voice, to ask, to experiment, to feel supported to do that. So it's an opportunity for women to really push through any fears that they may have around any parts of their body. And it can, you know, it doesn't need to be a sexual experience, but at the same time it is a sexual experience because we are working with our sexual reproductive system. So it is going to address any residual fears that you have around that part of your body. So what we do then is, once we've established that and the woman knows where she is, we start with an undressing ritual. And this is a process where the woman takes off each item of clothing one at a time. And as she does, she lets go of whatever it is she brought to let go of. So verbally, she takes off her top and says, I let go of fear of judgment. I let go of hatred of my body. I let go of not being able to ask what I want. I let go of that boyfriend who cheated on me and da 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 da. It can be one word, it can be a story, whatever it is that she has brought to release and let go of and finally be rid of completely in that session. And then we do a full body massage, which consists of boobs, bum, head to toe, full body massage, and that just allows the woman to completely relax into the space, connect with me, allow the two of us to connect, for her to feel comfortable with me, with my touch. And it's not a remedial massage, so it's not about getting in and finding knots and massaging muscles. It's about touch. It's about sensual touch. And I just intuitively massage her body. I follow the curves, I follow her lines, I touch areas that I know that are sensitive, like in the crease of the elbows, behind the knees, around the line of the buttocks, just very sensually touching the woman's body to allow her to feel touch, to allow her to feel a sensual touch that has no expectation. She does not have to do anything with this touch but receive. So Yoni Massage is an opportunity for a woman to 100% receive. She does not have to give anything in return. This is all about her being completely revered and worshipped in who she is as a woman. Just receiving. And again, something we very, very rarely get the opportunity of. It's not often that we can have a sexual experience with someone, or even just a cuddle or a kiss or something, without something being expected in return. So we do the full body massage, and then when I feel intuitively that the woman is ready and we've reached a certain point, I sit in between her legs with her thighs across mine and massage more of her belly, breasts, inner thighs, massage the ligaments of the inner thighs. And then we get to a point where I ask her for permission to touch the external of her yoni. And that's where we're looking for the full-bodied consent. And if any residual, any hesitation whatsoever, I really encourage her to say no. Because again, that's where the work is, and that's what we work on. So we just continue on the external work of the body and just work through whatever she is feeling in her hesitation. And then we might get to a point where I'll ask her again, or she might get to a point where she says, okay, now I'm ready. And I've had many, many women have released just in that part without even going near the vagina, near the yoni, and just been honored with 100% control and permission. So then we go to the external, and what it is, it's just a process of paying attention to every single part of her anatomy. Just honoring every single little bit of skin, every little bit of tissue, and just honoring the inner thighs, the labia, the outer labia, the inner labia, the perineum, the clitoris, all the different parts. And it's not about stimulation and getting her off. It's about honoring her and honoring every part of her and viewing the yoni as this incredible, majestic thing that has a lot of nerve endings and has the capability to create an incredible amount of pleasure that's not a peak climax explosive orgasmic pleasure, but a deep energetic flow of energy that is in her, that is directly connected to this part of her anatomy. So we work on that for as long as intuitively I feel needed. Sometimes women ask for longer, or they ask me to move on, or whatever she is feeling as well. And then I ask for permission to enter the yoni. And then we go inside, and that's where we begin. It's literally just massaging the internal of the vagina. So it is this whole network of muscles and ligaments, and the vagina holds an incredible emotional center. So a lot of emotional stuff develops physical blockages inside the vagina. So it's not uncommon to feel lumps, like they feel like little grains of rice all around the vagina. You can feel different ligaments that are tight on one side and not the other. And it's in those areas that we work. And by massaging those, and by massaging I mean literally just going around with my finger, massaging those is where we have the release. Often it will come with an emotional release. Sometimes she'll cry, sometimes she'll get a memory, sometimes she will scream like a woman being murdered. It is whatever release is connected to that for her and however she needs to release it. Sometimes a particular event comes up and she just needs to talk it through, and she tells the story of what happened then. Sometimes women get absolutely carried away with laughter, almost hysterical laughter, because of the emotions that are being stirred in that part of her. So it's just about, it's kind of like mapping the inside of the vagina and just feeling all the different areas, the ligaments, and walking the woman through all the different parts of her inside of her womb space. So there's 8 different main points in tantric theory where a woman can orgasm from. So it's just about walking her through those, where they are in her body, how they feel when they're stimulated, and just allowing her to feel the energy that comes from each of those areas being stimulated and what she feels when they're stimulated. So it's, exploring the G spot. We explore the A spot, which is like a bulb on the roof of the vagina, which fills with fluid when it's stimulated, and that is where a woman squirts from. Every single woman who has a vagina can squirt. It's not some porn thing or some really deeply tantric thing. It is just a basic piece of our anatomy, and it's about honoring it and treating it the right way and allowing the woman to become open enough and trusting enough and safe enough for her body to build up the energy in that area to allow that kind of release to happen. And in Sanskrit, the word for the fluid that a woman excretes or squirts is called amrita, which means nectar. So it's the nectar of the woman. It is her sweetest juice. It is her sweetest liquid. Her magic is what is in that area. And so it's showing women what that feels like to be stimulated, because a lot of the times we have no idea. You press on a part and they're like, oh, fuck, is that what that is? Right, okay. Never been stimulated, never been touched. So it's just about teaching her and showing her what is inside her body and what her body is capable of. So we go around all these different parts. We explore the cervix, which often is a very deeply emotional part because it is the neck of our womb. It is the neck of our creativity. We have so many stories. I haven't met a woman yet who hasn't got some kind of story attached to her uterus, whether it's, about her heavy periods, whether she's had a hysterectomy, whether she's got birth trauma. There's something always attached to her uterus. And going to the cervix is a really beautiful, vulnerable, powerful area to massage, and the areas around the cervix, so above the cervix and behind the cervix, and each area also represents different parts of us. So the back wall is often where we hold a lot of guilt and a lot of shame, a lot of negative, like self-esteem, all the shit we feel about ourselves. And up tucked right in the far back corner, right behind the cervix, we call it the posterior fornix. It's a really sensitive area, and it's an area where a lot of women feel like all of the personal shame, where they've been made to do things they didn't want to, or they've made the decisions that they didn't want to, and it's all about that kind of fogginess about direction and indecisiveness. And I always find that kind of interesting, because I'm also a midwife, and that is the part of the anatomy where we put the drug to induce a labor, where we make the body do something, where we make the uterus do something. And I find that fascinating. That's the same part in our energetic anatomy. So I walk the woman through all of these different parts, and just getting her to notice what sensations she's feeling. Some parts will be tight and sore. It's not uncommon for women to have a lot of numbness, because of course numbness is where there's so much really pain that the body has just turned it numb, because it prevents it from feeling. So often I've done massages on women where they have not felt a thing, and I have no idea where you are, I cannot feel anything at all. And so I walk her through it, and I tell her step by step, we're here, now we're doing this, and this is the kind of stroke I'm using, or this is the kind of stroke I'm using. And it's just about bringing blood circulation back into that area to start to bring sensation back in. And often you'll have numbness, and then it'll go to pain, and then eventually it moves to pleasure. But it's shifting a whole lot of shit that you've put there in the meantime to get through to that pleasure part. So sometimes one massage is not enough. And I've had a few women who have come back for a series of massages, and the significant change as we've gone along has been absolutely incredible. And so it is different for every woman, and a yoni massage caters to each woman and what she needs and where she's at in her life, in her journey, in her sexuality, in her history, her trauma. All of that stuff is different for every single woman. So we do the inside, and then we come back to the outside and finish off. And often the inside can be quite intense. It builds to the intensity, and it can be intense in a pleasurable way, or it can be intense in an emotional release way. And often that's the time when you will feel the energy starting to run through your body. It's not uncommon for women to start to get numb, tingly hands, and it can even in your face. A lot of women feel like their face is starting to go a bit tingly and a bit numb, and that is the energy flowing up. And that's many things. It's called the Kundalini, it's called the Divine Feminine, it's called the Holy Grail. All of that is the same thing. It is this physical energy that is within our bodies, and when it is activated, it starts to flow. And that is what the Divine Feminine is within us. It is palpable, it is real, it is an actual physical vibrational energy that is there, and it's just a matter of waking it up. And with that comes this incredible power, the power of the Divine Feminine that is within us. And that is what a sexually empowered woman is. It isn't a woman who goes off and has lots of sex. Sure, if she wants to, fabulous, go ahead. But it's about a woman who steps into her power, a woman who knows what she wants in this world, and it flows onto every single aspect of her life, into her career, into her relationships, into her mothering, into her creativity, birthing things, birthing new books, new projects, birthing a new career idea, whatever it is that she wants to create. This is where our power comes from, and this is what a yoni massage is all about. It's about igniting and activating that power that is already within each of us and just making it accessible, because we live in a society and in a world that has switched it off very effectively and really made it not accessible. So what I'm doing is just creating a space where women can come and explore that, and they can come and feel what that feels like to have it flowing through their veins. And when I started doing this work, it was massive, absolutely massive, and women were having these incredible experiences, and they would leave, and I found afterwards they would go through a bit of a roller coaster, because it is such a powerful experience. Afterwards would come potentially some guilt, some shame. Oh my God, what the fuck did I just do? I let a woman stick her fingers inside of me. This is just weird. And the ego comes in with all of these things and tries to undo what you've just done, because the ego keeps us safe. It keeps us in this little safe comfort zone box where nothing can happen, we're never going to grow, and all is just good right here. when you go and have a yoni massage, it's explosive. It rocks that world. It exposes you to so much potential that you have. And afterwards, I found a lot of women were kind of going through this process of, holy shit, what the fuck just happened? And I found that I needed to do more to support their process afterwards because this work was so big. So what I've done now is I actually have a whole program that I offer women instead of just a massage. So we have a 21-day program that I run 3 times a year that they can participate in. They have the massage, and then after the massage, 1 to 2 weeks afterwards, we have a debrief. So we have a 75-minute one-on-one debrief where we go into any residual that's left, any fears that have come up since, what process they're going through, and just to really help balance out and help them continue the work that they've already done. So once the massage is physically finished, the woman, we go through a dressing ritual where as she gets dressed and she puts on each item of clothing, she calls in what she now wants in her life. So after that activation and after feeling that energy within her, she calls in what she wants. So some women, whatever it is for her, it could be, I call in self-love, I call in support from the divine, I call in my beloved, whatever she is wanting in her life. And it's a very powerful time to call that in. So that's kind of